Hello and welcome again to Southend TV. Now you know, Southend TV, we're worried about your health. And we've also got information that Southend Council's worried about your health. And to give you an insight into that, Sherry Fuller from the Public Health Department at the Council is with us today. Welcome, Sherry.
Thank you for having me.
So please, very simply, tell us, what do you do?
What do I do? Well, as you've rightly said, I've worked for the council now for 17 years actually, but in the last few years I've worked in the public health team there. And public health's role is to look after the health and well-being of the population. So we look at the population as a whole. As I often explain to people, if you think of the NHS as fixing you if you get sick, we love our NHS, of course,
Yes.
We work very closely with them. Public health's role is to try and prevent you getting sick in the first place. So we promote a healthy lifestyle, which will be taking exercise, getting out into green spaces, getting outdoors, making good use of the council's beautiful parks and the seafront, eating a nice healthy balanced diet, not drinking too much, certainly giving up smoking is the best thing you can do to look after yourself, and all that sort of thing really. And my job, I'm their communicator. So it's my job to put out all these campaigns and to put out all the messages. And
you've mentioned the word campaigns. Tell us about some of the campaigns that you're actively involving and promoting at the moment.
Oh, that's a very good question. There's a big umbrella campaign that Public Health England is doing called One You. Mm-hmm. And that's really aimed at people from, say, 40 to 70, which sometimes get called the squeezed middle. Because they're probably, at that sort of age, they've probably still got dependents they're looking after,
Very
and
much
maybe
so.
even older parents that they're looking after, not so much time to look after themselves. So if you look up One You, if you were to Google that, there's a whole website full of information about making some time to look after yourself, and as well as the usual things about, it has apps, for example, like the Couch to 5K, which helps you get into running, helps you get more active, and things about fitness. It's also got things about getting a good night's sleep, which is vital to health, and people don't necessarily think about that as an important ingredient. Managing stress and that kind of mental health, making sure you've got time for yourself. So the One You campaign covers a whole lot of things, and that's a big driver for us.
Now there'll be a lot of our viewers out there saying, yeah, well, this is all very well, but I know that I haven't looked after myself perhaps as well as I ought to have done, and I don't really want to think about running 5k or 10k. Tell me, are there any more gentle situations that you promote where they could start?
Thank you for mentioning that. We can segue nicely into our health walks. Shall I hold that up so you can see? I don't know if you can see, but I can provide these for people. We offer several walks around town. I think there are three. One in Shoebury, one in Lee, one in Priory Park. Yeah. And as you rightly say, some people, if they've not done any exercise at all, or maybe have a health condition, or might have had an operation, they want something gentle just to get them started. These are completely free of charge, and they're guided walks, so we've got trained walk leaders that will just take you for a bit of a stroll. And the people that take part in them really enjoy them because they're very social. I know earlier we were talking, you relayed a lovely story about people meeting partners when they're out rambling.
Yes, very much so, yeah.
So you never know, Valentine's Day.
Love is round the corner.
You might meet the love of your life. Yeah. And they really are for everyone. We do get a lot of older people taking part because they're during the day. So people who are retired take part. But young mums with buggies that might be around during the day and just want to get out of the house and go for a bit of a stroll and chat to people.
So it's across the age group?
It's for anybody. It's for anyone that wants to do some gentle exercise. And although, of course, you can always go out and do that on your own, sometimes it's quite nice to do that in a group. Well,
I know I'll take one of your leaflets because I was talking about this with my brother-in-law yesterday who has a heart situation. He's fine, but his situation. And he has a couple of King Charles dogs that he walks around Priory Park as part of his natural activity. But he was very interested in the walks as a situation as to where they took place, and you've answered that. Priory Park is right next to him.
I think the Shoebury one is Gunners Parkway,
yes.
And the Lee one starts at sort of the Cockle Sheds. Yes. So that's quite a nice one
yes,
because
indeed.
they go along the cinder path and then they have some seafood and a cup of tea afterwards, so that's quite nice. I was going to say about the dogs, dogs are excellent for your health if you can have one, if you can look after one, because they make you get out of the house, make you take exercise. Pretty good for mental health too.
I like dogs, but I find I can't eat two.
The
Can we
Charles
move
are quite
on
small.
from this just quickly, because there are other things. I mean, one of the things that worries me so much as a former educationalist is the way in which obesity in our country has risen. Now, I know you're very, very keen on being able to try and do something about this, and you and I discussed the fact that 1 in 5 kids joining primary school are now classified as obese.
I have the figures for you actually, because I spoke to, we have a wonderful data analyst, Sally, and she has all the facts and figures for us. And I can tell you, let me just have a look, in Southend at reception age, so when they first start school, because we have the National Childhood Measurement Programme, our school nurses, which are part of our team, and they do all the measuring of the children when they first start. So we have 21.5% of kids coming into reception are classed as overweight or obese, 7.7% are obese. So at reception, it's a significant number, but it's not massive. But we do find that by year 6, when we measure them again, that obesity figure has gone up from 7.7% to 16.5%. So there's something happening in those early years where the kids are perhaps not being as active as we would like, and maybe eating a bit too much sugary food.
As a former teacher, I've got to say, our school's doing enough to liaise with parents on this, if those figures are correct.
Yes, actually, that leads me to something else I can talk to you about. Somebody that I think needs a whole interview to herself, Lisa, is our Healthy Schools lead, and she works very closely with schools on exactly that. And there are some wonderful examples of schools taking the initiative in terms of not just physical health, but mental health, emotional well-being. She does a lot of work with schools about self-esteem and confidence building, anti-bullying stuff in schools and raising awareness of that. So there is actually a whole raft of activities going on. As we spoke earlier, we really sympathise with teachers finding the time in a busy packed curriculum to get the kids out. We've started introducing the Daily Mile, which is a national scheme. I forget the name of the person that brought it into being, but it is just the notion of just get outside and have a run. Just run around in a very excited kind of way that kids love to do. They don't change into the PE kit, they just go out and run for a mile, or walk if they can't do the running. So we're starting to bring that more into schools now. But also what we're doing outside of schools or with schools is working with the Change for Life campaign. And
Food Smart.
Yes, and this is an app that kids can download onto their phones, and when they go shopping they can actually scan the products, and they can see how much sugar is in them, how much saturated fat is in them, how much salt.
Excellent.
So we're kind of working with schools and with kids to promote this.
The children can get those from their school, can they?
The schools have resource packs, and obviously people can go online themselves, families can go online. You might have seen the adverts, they're all very colourful.
What's the online...
Change for Life, with
Change
a 4
for Life.
the number.
Yes, Change for.
Life. Yeah. So if you look that up, all the resources are there, they're all lovely and colourful, there's all lots of nice stickers. Change for Life works with Disney, so there are lots of Disney characters involved. And look out for the adverts on your telly with the little plasticine wolf people.
Yes.
That's Change for Life. And just one last thing on the children. We do have, if there are children that really are struggling with their weight and fall into the obese category, that's flagged up by school when the school nurses do the measuring.
Yeah.
And they will be offered the opportunity to get involved with the More Life scheme.
Right.
So that's another one of my flyers.
Okay, so obviously this is a very, very comprehensive programme, comprehensive units. Sherry, are there any other areas that you particularly want to address our viewers on?
Yeah, well, a couple of things really. The cardiovascular health is a big thing. Looking after your heart, and one of the best things that we know you can do to look after your heart and your health generally is quit smoking. So if anybody is out there and still sort of slightly guiltily perhaps thinking, oh, I do still enjoy a cigarette, because everybody knows that it's not good for you. You know, the information has been out there for a long time.
Smoking cessation, I believe the NHS used to promote
smoke
it under.
Free.
Smoke free now.
Hashtag smoke free. That's and you will have seen the Stoptober campaign that goes out every year. So we know that with support, you're 4 times more likely to quit if you have somebody that's supporting you. So our pharmacists in Southend offer this service. It's completely free, where they will talk to you about all of the different methods that there are to help you quit, which could be taking the Champix medication, or it could be patches, or it could be an inhaler. Or you might choose to try e-cigarettes. That's not something we offer,
Nope.
but some people are choosing that themselves, and we can still support you with the behavioural support. If you
I
choose
believe
method.
that they are far less likely to prove carcinogenic
Absolutely,
than cigarettes.
absolutely. I mean,
There's been a lot
line
of
is-
dispute about
there
that,
has,
but
and
I think
that's-
recent work has proved that yes, they are.
As you know, John, we're all about the evidence in public health, and the evidence thus far from Public Health England, which is available online, is that the harm reduction is significant. There really
Yeah.
is a vast difference between your e-cigarette and your tobacco cigarette, because
If I
nicotine.
can just stop you just for a second to tell the viewers, if you go on Southend offers, you'll see some of the shops in Southend who are making offers on e-cigarettes, vapors and things of that nature, which you may well want to explore with your Southend TV loyalty card. So there's the commercials. Carry on.
Well, we don't actively promote them because the research is still ongoing. But certainly the research so far says that we know what's in cigarettes, and
Yeah.
we know that it's incredibly harmful.
I think you've
for
got
you.
some data for me, haven't you? Just to frighten everybody to death.
Yeah, I did have a card that I have a list of the cocktail, but it includes things like strychnine, lead, polonium, also formaldehyde, all sorts of things that if somebody offered you that in a drink, you certainly
wouldn't fancy
wouldn't be
them.
drinking it. So this is why it causes cancer, and this is why it causes all the other respiratory problems and heart disease that people have. Whereas your e-cigarettes, they have nicotine in them, which isn't of itself harmful for you. It's a stimulant, so it's harmful in the way that caffeine is, but does make the cigarettes addictive, and that's why people sometimes will use an e-cigarette that's still got nicotine in it, in the same way they'd use a patch that's got nicotine in it. So they will still get the nicotine, but without the other ingredients that are causing harm. As I say, to be clear on our message on e-cigs, we don't actively promote them because
No.
the research is continuing.
Yes.
But certainly the findings to date are they are far less harmful than smoking cigarettes.
Now, often thought of as a bit of a Cinderella service, but very important to people, is the matter of sexual health, which is really vital, but obviously people tend to get embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Tell me, how do you approach that from the council's point of view and your department's point of view?
That's wonderful. I'm so pleased you've asked me about that, because as a communicator, we can sometimes run into issues about how we talk about sexual health on social media, for example, because some people do get concerned about it. But we partner with the Kingsley Ward Centre in Southend, which has open doors for people to go along and get screened for various sexually transmitted infections, and they also do free HIV testing, and they can talk to people about contraception as well. And of course this isn't just young people. We definitely want young people to be thinking, when they become sexually active, to be thinking about keeping themselves safe, and to be talking to people in confidence about the options for contraception, for getting themselves screened for chlamydia and so forth. But it's older people too. We're finding there's like a demographic of people in their 30s and 40s who've maybe come out of a long-term relationship and are maybe kind of on the scene
Yeah,
again,
different things, yeah.
and having more sexual partners and having some fun. That's fine if you want to do that. But again, it's the message about keep yourself safe. HIV testing now is very quick and very easy. And one thing that I think is very important to make clear is HIV isn't as terrifying as it once was. If you get diagnosed early and you get on treatment, you can have a perfectly normal life. You can have perfectly normal sexual encounters with people. You can even have children safely. But it is about getting yourself screened and getting diagnosed early. So we're really trying to encourage people to get an HIV test if they have been, especially if they are quite sexually active.
Yes.
Because it is people get scared, they're frightened by HIV, frightened to know, but it is much better to know and get that diagnosis early.
I think for a lot of people the biggest thing is getting over the embarrassment factor.
Yes, of course. Yeah, people, if you go to the Kingsley Ward Centre, the sexual health clinic, you're saying, I have sex.
Yeah.
And everybody does. Or most people do.
Yes.
So, it's okay. Don't be embarrassed about it. And the nurses there always say there is absolutely nothing that we've not heard before.
I'm sure that's right.
You know, that you can tell us anything and we're completely unflappable and unshockable. So yes, your sexual health is as vital to your well-being as your physical health, your mental health and everything else. So please make sure you're looking after that.
Okay, well we've had a pretty comprehensive list, but there's one thing before you go that really fascinated me when we spoke the other day, and that is the way in which you're encouraging people who employ staff to look after their staff and encourage their staff to look after themselves, that it's a win-win situation if they do. How does that work?
Yeah, well again, our Angela, I think, could come back and tell you all about this because she's our business contact. But it's called the Public Health Responsibility Deal. And we have some funding available where we can go into workplaces and talk to them about what they might be able to offer staff, particularly staff that are sitting about all day. Because being sedentary, again, very unhealthy. We want you up and moving. Like standing desks, for example, are an idea, but ideally we want you moving around. So I think Angela has worked with businesses and set up things like yoga classes at lunchtime, Tai Chi classes, or even sort of guided walks at lunchtime. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole variety of different things, because we are thinking that if you're worried about staff going off sick, well, rather than thinking about how you manage absence, think about what you're doing to help your workforce
to help wellness.
Well, absolutely, in mind and body, because if they're feeling better, physically and mentally, then they're going to work better for you, you're going to get better results, and as you say, it will be a win-win situation.
Well, there we are. That's an absolutely first-class comprehensive survey of all the things that are available to you in Southend. They're available from the council. If you've any doubts at all, go online, or alternatively contact the public health team, where Sherry and her colleagues will be only too pleased to fill you in on all things that are available that might be relevant to yourself. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that on Southend TV we're exploring ways in which you can keep yourself live and healthy. Cheerio.